Welcome to a look under the hood of Lastpass, probably one of the most popular the password managers and security programs you can use to make your life a little bit more convenient, but also make your life a little bit more sense when it comes to saving passwords and working with secure things like passwords. My name is Dante St. James. Let's get underway and show you a look under the hood of Lastpass, one of the world's most popular password managers. Let me just share my screen and we'll get underway. So when we look at Lastpass, it's important to understand that this is one of a series of different pieces of software that you can use to do this thing. So I'm not necessarily purporting to be an expert at this, but let's put it this way. I've used Lastpass for nearly 10 years now, and it's never let me down. So it's been something which has certainly been part of my life as a digital marketer, as a digital marketing agency, but more particularly as a small business owner. A quote here from Bruce Schneier, who's quite the expert in security and things like passwords and password management. The whole notion of a password is based on an oxymoron. It's the idea that have a random string that it's easy to remember. Unfortunately, if it's easy to remember, it's something like non-random, like bunnies are cute. But if it's random, like R7U2 asterisk QNP comma, then it's not easy to remember at all. And this is the problem we come faced with. You're supposed to have all these amazing secure passwords, but they're never easy to remember. In this session, we're going to look at what Lastpass is. We're going to look at the process of installing it and how it's installed, and how it works in with your computer particularly, but also your phone. We're going to look at what password management is and some of the other secure features that are in there. This is not going to be a death by PowerPoint situation. We're going to go live into my Lastpass account, which is probably a security problem of its own. Didn't think that through. No, I have thought that through. There's nothing you're going to see in there that's going to unlock what the security is for my account. This is brought to you by Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program. In conjunction with Business Station presenting this in WA, we've got Regional Development Queensland in Brisbane presenting this in Queensland. And then you've also got our friends at Treaty Business Consulting in the Northern Territory as well. This will be available a little bit later today on YouTube through the Business Station and Dante St. James channels. And if you are watching this live right now on Zoom, you can comment in the chat screen or in the Q&A. But if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all the normal stuff you do with YouTube, especially the subscribe, because what it does, it allows you to see more of these instructional videos from myself and from Business Station as well. Whichever one you're following, just subscribe. With me, you get all my content, over 100 videos now. With Business Station, gosh, they've probably got over 300 now from all the different advisors that have been doing webinars for the last 3 years. My background is in marketing and info technology, as well as broadcasting and media. I've studied at the University of New South Wales, Sydney, where I did a Bachelor and Masters of Business Information Systems and Marketing. And you've got Chartered Institute of Marketing, where I've done probably 7 different courses with them over the last, since about 2014. Also doing a lot of micro-credentialing through TAFE New South Wales. If I want to learn anything about security, I do a cybersecurity attainment. Or if I want to learn something about Microsoft Word, I go and do a Microsoft Word course. It's a great way of doing things. Subsequently, I've also am working with Facebook's Blueprint Certified Trainer Program. So I'm one of just 5 in Australia, and the only one in Australia and the Pacific region that is not just qualified for Australia, but qualified for the global training program as well. We've also got qualifications in Digital Marketing Associate, Media Planning, Media Buying, Creative Strategy, and I keep forgetting the last one, but it's to do with Marketing Science. That's right. Google Digital Springboard program involved with as long as 3 different government programs that include the ASBAS Digital Solutions, which is the one we're in right now, Be Connected, which is for older Australians, getting them engaged with the online economy, and the New Business Assistance with NICE program, where I'm a mentor for the Northern Territory, so Alice Springs and Darwin. Enough about me. More about Lastpass. Lastpass is a series of one of a series of different password management and security software systems. Now, Lastpass is not the only one in the game. Lastpass is the one I happen to use, but I've also used both 1Password and Dashlane, who are probably number 2 and 3 in this. So Lastpass is probably the biggest. Dashlane, 1Password, number 2 and number 3. RoboForm and NordPass are another one of those that are in the mix with Lastpass as well. Now, what this does, it gives you choice. And if I had to say if there's ups and downs for each of them, LastPass for me is probably the overall winner because it has a, I wouldn't say the simplest interface, but it has the most complete. It goes across so many different kinds of devices as well. Now, Dashlane does the same, but it also has its own built-in VPN. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's one of those things you plug in to anonymize your browsing and also, spoof your address as not being from Townsville, where I happen to be right now, but you can spoof your address to being from somewhere else, such as, Perth, or you might want to be from Hong Kong or Azerbaijan, anywhere around the world, really, where there's a point of presence that that particular company has, Dashlane, you'll be able to route your traffic through there. Now, the advantages of a VPN is that your ISP can't see where you're going. No one can essentially see where you're going. One of the most common usages, though, is not really that noble. It's more about trying to get the American version of Netflix. So you can spoof your traffic to being in America, you log in with your account, and then you're able to access American content that comes out often quite often it comes out a lot sooner than the Australian content. When I have to look at the most simple of the interfaces, Dashlane is definitely right up there. It's a really, really super easy to use, super simple interface that plugs into everything. One Password, a little more complicated. NordPass, quite simple as well. And RoboForm is one of the simplest of all, but it doesn't have a lot of features. Now, LastPass does a few things. First up, it stores your passwords in a secure vault. So if you've got all these different passwords for everything from your bank account to your Facebook account to your email account to the code that you put into your door to enter the office in the morning, all those things can be stored in LastPass. So what that means that you're going to do is you're going to have one place that's going to store everything. Now, that doesn't sound secure, doesn't it? It sounds kind of dumb. Why would you put everything, early access to everything you like in one piece of software? It's because that one piece of software comes with what we call the last password, hence the name, last password you'll ever need to remember. It's one password that you will remember that's quite secure and that you've made sure you do remember, that you're then able to then get access through that to every other password you've got. Now, what that does, it opens you up to the possibility of having more secure passwords everywhere. I use either 12, 16, 32, or 64 character passwords across everything I do. Now, why do I have that stupid amount of password? Because it's just harder for anything to crack it. It's harder for anything to break into it. You have 64 characters. It will take literally about 100,000 years for the most powerful computer around today to be able to crack that password. That's okay. They can crack it in 100,000 years. I won't be around to see it. So what the idea is that you're creating a ton of unguessable passwords for your logins everywhere that you don't have to remember. LastPass remembers it for you. So it prompts you then also to consider making better, more secure passwords. If your granddaughter's name is Brooke and she was born in March 2000 and your password's all Brooke and it's 0300, that's the worst password you could possibly have, because anyone can tell when your granddaughter was born. They can know what the name is and then put that together. It's one of the most common things we do, along with names of dogs. How many people name their passwords and their username access after their dogs? And their dogs are all over Instagram, all over Facebook. Anything that you have that's in a password that can be guessed by basically looking at your life online means that it's easily hackable. And this is what happens with so many people who have the same really easily remembered, easily hackable password across everything they do. They're the people who get hacked. And then, of course, it's everyone else's fault. Oh, it's the computer's fault. It's the internet's fault. It's the hacker's fault. That's your fault. If you get hacked, it is your fault. 100%. There's no one else's fault if you get hacked. It's all because you have very poor password hygiene or very poor security hygiene. That just means you haven't regularly changed your passwords. You got one password that you get into everything with, the same password. Brooke 0003. Brooke 0003 over there. Everything, bank, email, Instagram, Pinterest, everything you have is that one password, right? It's the one you can remember or the one you write down in your little book at home. The problem with this is, though, that anybody can break in your house and not have access to everything in your house, but also have access to everything online as well. So LastPass actually has a secure password generator that you're able to use to create more secure passwords. In most cases, I create my passwords with 64 characters, which is usually the maximum. It's a little bit warm in this room where I am, sorry. So it's I'm just having to drink a lot of water, maybe turn down that temperature just a little bit so we can get a bit of a temperature going in this room. But what it generally means is that you're able to set extremely secure passwords that no one's going to guess. And then you go, well, how will I remember them? Well, you don't. LastPass does it for you. And once we get into showing you the demo of how that works, it'll make complete sense to you. It also allows you to store things like credit card details, ID, access keys. I've got copies of my passport in there, my driver's license. So I've always got access to that stuff when anyone needs me to send it as a form of identification online to show them this is who I am and here's my ID to prove it. It also creates a two-factor authentication app on your phone, which allows you to, those things where they're saying, hey, we'll send you a code to your phone so you can unlock this. And it's either like through SMS, or they'll send it through an authenticator app. That's the most secure way to do it beyond SMS is the authenticator app. And what it allows you to do is have a very secure 6-digit code sent through that only lasts 60 seconds and gives you a chance to put that in so it actually secures you. And then no one else can use that code because it refreshes every 60 seconds. So to have that kind of feature too makes life so much more secure when you're logging into things. Now, one of the things that sets LastPass apart is that it's available on all different kinds of devices. So whether you're running a Windows computer, a Mac, or a Linux computer or even a Chromebook, it runs on all those different kinds of computers. But then conversely, when you go over to a phone, it runs on all those different devices as well. So whether you're running an iPhone, an iPad, you're running a Samsung tablet, a Huawei tablet, a LG phone or a Sony phone, all those different Android and iOS devices all have a LastPass app that's going to make it easy to remember your passwords and at least use those passwords as well. And look, if it just means that you've got this one place where you can very easily go and get the password for that thing to log in, copy it, paste it, it's so much easier to live your life that way than running backwards and forwards to the third drawer down in the kitchen to get that book out that's got all your passwords in it, or trying to set that a really secure password by replacing a 0 with an O, or an O with a 0, or a 1 with an L, and you think that's going to be really secure. It's not really. The hackers know all about that stuff too. So ultimately, before we go live under the hood, why would you use a password manager like LastPass? Well, simple convenience. I cannot remember every password for every client that I deal with. Every client has a different set of passwords and usernames that I work with. Even myself, I've got literally about 3,000 different combinations of username and password that I'd have to remember. I got a big brain, but ain't that big. I still need to have some space to be able to operate my life without having to have these passwords living rent-free in my mind. So for convenience, a password manager like LastPass, it just makes a lot of sense. And then there's the security side of it all, especially when it comes to not using repeating passwords everywhere. I used to do this years ago. I used to have this one password that went across everything, and it was one of the worst passwords on the planet. It wasn't admin123 or password123, but it wasn't far off those, I'll tell you that. It was this password that went to everything I did, and it was so easy to guess what it is because it's one of the most common words used in the Western world, and it was terrible. It was just making it so much more difficult for me to go, you know what? If I get hacked with this one password, they're going to guess absolutely everything. Then a little thing called Have You Been Pwned came about. So it's Have I Been PWNED. It's basically an internet speak way of saying, have I been owned? And it's a little website that a guy called Troy Hunt in the Gold Coast of Queensland came up with. And he started collating all the information from the different massive data breaches and hacks that were happening around the world. And he put them all in there and said, here's the information we got from those hacks. I can see this email address. And it had like a database of them. And it said, okay, for this email address, what hacks of this email address been exposed in? And so what he did, he put that up there. I put my email in there and see, okay, have I been honed? Yep, I had been about 10 different times with different apps, like Under Armour's app through my phone back when I used to be doing a lot of exercise. all sorts of things like that. Facebook hack happened. It would have been like a Netflix hack, I think, happened at some point. There was another one from a credit provider that had also been hacked. My email address and potentially my passwords have been exposed in all these places. So the first thing I had to do was change my email address and password on all these places. I tell you, it was a horrible thing to do, but it did prompt me to look at something like Lastpass to finally take care of my password woes, because writing it down on a sheet of paper, putting it on a note on your desktop is not a real way of doing security. The other thing is too, there's multi-device. So the ability for me to have the same sort of username passwords on my Mac that's on my desktop, and have it also in my Android phone and my iPhone, as well as my Chromebook and my tablet, means that I'm seamlessly going from one device to another and having the same set of access to the same kind of passcodes and passwords. So it makes things so much easier. And let's face it, people forget things. We are very forgetful. We go, I'm going to set this password that only I remember. It's so secure and I'll remember it. Nobody else will possibly know this. And then you forget it. Just like when you tell yourself, I'm going to hide that receipt in the one place where I know that I won't lose it, because the reason why you won't lose it, because no one looks there. You don't look there. You forget about it as well. So one day you go to move out of home and you go to this one little spot that's got all this stash of things that you hid years and years ago, because you forgot that you actually had that stash of things that you started years and years ago. We're very forgetful creatures. So now it's come to that time to stop talking so much and take a look under the hood of exactly what Lastpass is and how it works. And this is not going to take forever, because it's a very, very simple program. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen and going to start, hey, I'm back again, and we'll go back and start sharing another screen, which is going to show you how Lastpass works. So I'll just minimize this, go over to that, reshare my screen like this, and get out of here, share my screen. I'm on the road at the moment in Townsville, so everything takes a little bit longer to get right. That's it. That's what I want. So this is the Lastpass website. I'm using Google's Chrome, but this also works in Microsoft Edge. It works in Safari, works in Firefox. You can have these plugins anywhere you like. We're not going into this particular one. I'm going to go somewhere else, right? So I'm going to go to log into Gmail. Now it's going to immediately log me into one of my other accounts. I don't want to go into those accounts. I want to go into a new account. And that new account that I'm going to go into is an account I already own access to. So it is one of my accounts. So let's pop in there. So I'm just going to go over here, and I want to log into one of my accounts. I've got tons of them. I just tap on here now, and I can go and see, okay, I've got this one here. This is one, this is one. This is one here, info at Palau home. I can go into one of my old accounts here, and it's remembered the details. So go next, it automatically populates that password. I go next, and then I'm logged in to this particular account. Now this one's got lots of authentication stuff on it. So if I just go and put that through to my phone, it's going to send a message off to my phone and give me a message. So let me quickly put that out. Excuse me for that sneeze. Okay, so I've popped over my phone. I've now got a little passcode it sent me. It doesn't matter that I'm going to share this because it runs out after a couple of minutes. There we go. I put that code in, and now it's going to log into my account. They're saying, yeah, do you want to do some stuff? I haven't used this one for quite a while, so I'm not going to do that particular security setting because I've secured it with Lastpass already, and it logs into my account that I haven't logged into forever. I did not have to remember that password. In fact, I didn't even see that password. I cannot even remember what that password could possibly be, because what I did, I made it so that that password has no difference, has no sense to it. So the same thing is that I can go over and start a new tab, and I can go to something like, let's say the Courier Mail in Brisbane is a Brisbane newspaper, right? So couriermail.com.au. So I pop in the Courier Mail. Now, I don't have a login here for it, but I am logged into news.com.au. So I do have a subscription for news.com.au, which means it's from my local paper, the NT News. I've got a subscription to that. So I'm going to go to sign into that. And it's going to say, hey, we've already got you as a subscriber. it's already through LastPass filled that in and logged me in. So immediately I go through and I can start reading all these articles, which have got the for subscriber only access to them. I've got now access to all those things. It also gives me access to things like my rewards. So I can go to any of these. I can go to one of the other ones, maybe the Herald Sun in Melbourne. It's probably logged me in now, so I've logged into one. No, see, it hasn't logged me in the Herald Sun, but because it's got my login for all these all saved, yep, it's logged me straight in as well. So I've already logged in without having to even think about it. So I'll pop out of there and go back to the password, to the LastPass page. The same thing would go if I want to log in here. It will remember my details as well. So I go to log in, it's going to go, hey, you need to log in. It said, okay, here is your login. It's given me that I've pre-filled, but that's actually not correct. I've deliberately made it so it does not show my actual password there. So I can log in and start to see all the things that I've got in there. Now I've got the premium version of LastPass, and the only thing that I get that's a bit extra to what you'll get in the free version is I'm able to share my passwords to other people in my organization. So I've got access to particular systems that I want to share with my staff. I get them LastPass subscriptions as well, so that then we can all work in collaboration. I can securely share those passwords. The reason why that's secure is that the password gets shared to them and stored into their vault, but they cannot see what that password is. It's my password that I've set. It gives them secure access to the access to that, whatever that system is. It could be to Facebook, for instance, getting into a particular Facebook account. They have the access to it. Their LastPass installation has the username and password, but you know what? It doesn't have them able to see that password. They cannot see it. It's all hashed out. So they can only see the username used. They can't see the password, even though LastPass, when it's plugged into the browser, can see it and then pushes it through so you can then access it. What that means is that that person leaves the company. All I do is I turn off the access to their LastPass account of having that, and then they don't have access to that. They can't see it. They can't get into it. Unlike a previous employer of mine, which I've now been away from for 5 and a bit years, and I've still got 100% access to all their systems because they never turned it off. I've told them before that I still have access, and I don't think they know how to take that access away. So it's just ridiculous. So it means also then that I've got access to things as out there as the back end of my website. So one of my websites, let's go there and take a look. This already might be logged in, so I might not be showing you the right thing. Yeah, I'm already logged in. But if I log out of that, you'll see how, again, it works. So log out, bang, bang. I can log in with WordPress.com or log in with a username and password. It's already filled that out. But let's just pretend for a moment that those details weren't there and I wanted to log into my account. Now it knows, because it's plugged into my browser, that I'm trying to get into clickstarter.com.au, right? Trying to get into my WordPress site. If I pop up here, it's going to give me a whole lot of details that I've got access to of this site. So I'm going to go, okay, which one am I going to use to get in? Decent James fills in the details, logs me in, and off I go. At no point is that actually visible. I can unlock that because it is my password, and I can then get into my account and then start moving around my WordPress site, doing things like, updates of themes and updates of plugins, which thankfully are all up to date. So that gives you a bit of a picture of how to use something like LastPass out in the wild. It's very, very simple to use once it's installed. You don't really have to do much in the way of ensuring that things are working or ensuring that you have access to a complicated interface or anything like that. All you need to do is that I've got the ability to go in here and look at a different range of passwords that are associated with a certain domain. I can also see that I can access my vault. Now, when you install the browser extension for LastPass, it gives you access to all the options in LastPass that you would normally need within one interface within your browser. So even if I'm not on this site, I'm just going back to this particular email address and going, yeah, I'm going to go from there. I'm going to open this up and then go to open my vault. And in my vault, as it opens up, as I'm already logged into it, it says all the things that I've sort of already categorize my passwords as, but it also lets me then view my passwords, all of them. So if I go, there's tons and tons of passwords, I can look for the passwords that I want to find for DanteStJames.com. And it immediately tells me for danteandjames.com, I've got a SlideShare account. I've got a cPanel account. I've got a danteandjames.com account. I can work in there and change my password, so I can edit that. And it's not going to show me that password, so don't worry, I'm not going to show you that. But that's where my password is stored. I can change my password in there if I want now, but I can also just access it by copying it. So if I wanted to just, for instance, copy the password, I can just go to launch it and it will launch that site immediately. So it goes in there. Here's the site you want to go to. Yeah. But instead, this site's got a different address, so I need to change that. And that's not going to go, you know what? That's an old record. The password might be right, but the actual site has changed. So I'm going to go back in here, change it, and change that to WP. Oops, let's write out the wrong thing. To the right location, which is there. And save. And now it's actually going to take me to the correct place. So let's try that again. Going out from my vault, I'm going to go from danteandjames.com again. Come on, log in, buddy. You can do it. There we go. So I'm going to launch again. This time it's going to take me to the right place. And once I'm in that right place, I'm already logged in. But if I wasn't, let's just say that's logged out. I want to go and do exactly the same thing now that's logged out. Come on, buddy, log out. You can do it. It'll take a bit longer on this internet today. Sorry about that. Now we're logged out, so I go to launch again. Let's just say I was going in fresh, wasn't already logged in. Log in, and then I can quickly pick up the login. See, it's showing me a 1 there. It's telling me, hey, I've got a login for this site. Pick it up, dump it in, and log in. And then I go to my site, as happy as I'd be ever. And then I can see, you know, to run things like running my updates. I've got an update ready to run, which I'm just about to run. Let me go Defender Pro. Let's update that. Off I go, and I'm done. Now, the same thing can be for any website I like. It can be for the ntnews.com.au. There's my logins. They're there. I've got 2 of them there because I've had 2 different accounts over different periods of time. They just so happen to match. I've used the same username and password for those 2 times. But let's just say that I want to set up an account with a new site. So let's go to a new site altogether, something I've never been a member of before. So it could be, let's just say it is, what's a service I've never used before? Let's make it a newspaper. You know what? Perth Now. I don't think I've ever used Perth Now as a place to get news from. So I can subscribe to that. So let's see what it's going to let me do. So I don't have a login for this already. I can subscribe to newsletters. Problem is though, all I'm doing is subscribing to newsletters. I'm not actually setting up an account with them as such, or a login. It's just subscribing to newsletters. So that's a bad example. But if there's any sort of service I've never signed up for, maybe direct hotels, because I'm staying in a direct hotel here in Townsville. So they don't really have a login as such that you would do for this. So that's probably no good for me as well. It's actually really hard to find something that I'm not going to log into already in some way, shape, or form. Maybe NRL.com. Okay, so I don't have a login for the NRL.com, but my team, the West Tigers, are playing tomorrow at 5:30. That's good to know that I'll be watching that. So let's have a look. We've got a login here. Okay, let's try and log in here. I don't have a login, but I've got an email address. So I'm going to go, oh, wait a minute, can't log in because I don't have an account. So I can sign up for an NRL account. So let's go. DanteStJames@gmail.com. James@gmail.com. Here's all my details. God, this is going to give away a lot of my personal details, isn't it? Now, I'm not going to use a password in there. I'm going to use a fake date of birth. So I'm really young. 2001. Yeah, right, I'm that young. I am going to be female. My country is going to be Papua New Guinea. I'm not a robot. So what I'm going to do in here for this particular password, and I'm only going to use this very, very briefly and then delete it. So you don't try and get into my account because it'll be all deleted by the time you try to. I want to put in a very secure password. Saying it needs to be 8 characters long. I can do better than that. I'm going to generate a secure password of 64 characters. Look at that. 64 characters it's generated in a combination of uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols. It's got this easy to read, stuff easy to read. I don't need it to be easy to read. I just need it to be secure. So I'm going to copy that, paste it in there. Let's see if they accept 64 characters. They don't always. So it's, yep, it's accepted it. I've got lots of characters in there. Good luck if you tried to read those. You were never going to find it. Sign up, and now I've got it. So I can now, it's going to prompt me. Now I've put that in because you need to save it, to save those details in there. Add and done. And I can go through and select, you know, to go and select my favorite NRL team, state of origin team, sorry, Queensland, national team. I don't really care too much about the national stuff. I guess we'll just say, yeah, the Gillaroos. Let's say them. I like rugby. I don't want to get their exclusive deals. Sign up and continue. Good luck to anybody who's trying to uncouple what that password was, because they had 64 mixed up characters in it that you're never, ever going to guess, right? It's going to be really hard for you to do that. So it's really done a great job of making sure that I have a very secure password in place, not, you know, admin 123 or my mother's maiden name 123 or whatever that happens to be. So I go through, I now go into my email and going to verify that particular email address, because that's what they want to do, is make sure you verify it. I go through and do that, and then boom, we're done. And I've created a new, very, very secure password that's now stored in my vault. Let's go back to my vault. Let's go nrl.com. Come on, you can do it. I know it's just a new one, but you've got it. Let's refresh. There we go. So it's now got it. So it knows that my details are St. James. I want to change, see that massive, massive thing? That's actually not my username. My username is actually, so it actually picked up the wrong thing in there. So I'm just going to correct that now. Sometimes it does pick up the wrong one, particularly on very secure sites like NRL, AFL, it will do that. So I've now created those different things. I can go boom and add different sorts of stuff. Don't really need that one. And then we can go, okay, what else can we store in here? You can also store secure notes. So I can say things like, notes that you've got, which have, the emails that might have very secure information on them. So I can set up notes in here to say, yes, I'm going to create a new folder or a secure note, and that note is going to be my secure key for Amazon. Now, this is a very pretend thing. So it could be a very complicated, very long string of things like this that I need to copy and paste and use somewhere. Once that's saved in there, that's not going to automatically come in, but I've always got that secure key available in there. This is, remember, a secure vault for storing all kinds of stuff in it. So you can store that in there and you're done. I won't store that because I don't want to confuse myself. The other thing you're storing here is addresses. So you're going to store an address by saying, okay, here are the details that I want my my Lastpass to automatically fill out for me. So if I go, okay, I'm Mr. Dante St. James. Don't need a middle name. Then go what my username might be. That's not really a usual thing, but if I use the same username for every password I go to, that might be something that's really good. Maybe Decent James is one that I use quite a lot. If I'm filling out a form, it's got all that information. I can put in my birth date, even right down to time zone, phone number details, and all that. So that then I can very easily, when I go to fill something out in Lastpass, let Lastpass do the work for me. I'm not constantly having to fill out those details again and again and again. I can also store my credit cards in here. So I don't have any credit cards stored in here because I use Google Pay and Apple Pay for most of my transactions, and that does that already. But let's just say that you wanted to have a particular credit card that you wanted to share with your staff that's being used to pay for certain things. Now, what you want is to not give them necessarily the full numbers of that card or the full details or even the CCV number in there as well. So what you do, you have that all secured in Lastpass, you share it through them, and when they go to pay something on credit card, they insert it with Lastpass, which shields it from them so they never have to see it, and it just puts it through. So you don't have that insecurity of having a credit card that's just showing out for the rest of the world and for all your staff. So they're actually able to use the credit card, but not be exposed to what the credit card number and CVV number happens to be. Makes life so much more secure, doesn't it? And the other thing is too, your bank accounts are in here too. So in your bank accounts, you can then set up your logins for different bank accounts, things like BSBs and account numbers. The idea is here to have anything that you have trouble remembering or that's absolutely vital for you to remember, all placed in this one piece of software that allows you simple, easy access to it, and that you only have to remember that one last password to get into it. So I can go and send all that. They do also provide training in here and give you tons and tons of support. It's a really secure system and it's really well built. And some of the world's top security experts have actually verified this. They've gone and met with the guys who built this and they said, yep, this thing is solid as concrete. It will not have any problems standing up to hackers. But these guys have never been hacked. So that's probably a really great testament to them. The fact they've never been hacked gives you a lot of I guess security. Now, having all this is great, but let's just say you die and your kids, I know, very morbid way to spin it around. Let's say you die and your kids need access to all your logins to be able to take care of your affairs for you, right? You've got what we call emergency access. Now, I've set up one of my employees to have emergency access to my account through his Lastpass account. So after 14 days of him not being able to get in or me not logging in, so let's face it, I've died, I haven't used any access to my stuff. After 14 days, Jack will have access to all my stuff. So that security of that 14 days is really important because it means that it's confirming that I'm not able to be contacted. I'm not able to confirm that I'm alive or dead. So it just seems, okay, after 14 days of no activity, we can say you're dead, but only this guy, only this one person can get access to that. So you can add in your kids, you can add in your parents, you can add in your business partner, you can add in anyone you need to, people you trust that could do this. Yeah, in this case, Jack has never actually accepted this. So I'm in a bit of an unsafe position here because Jack never actually selected that he's going to be a person who's going to do that. Over here, though, I've got people who trust me. So people who have given me that access in their lives. No one trusts me. That's sad, really. But I've got someone in here that I have. So I'm just waiting for him to accept that. So then he'll do. Now I can rescind that. I can then just, cancel the invitation, or I can resend it to him as a person who I trust to have vault access to my account if I die. Lots of other settings in here. Your sharing center is a great place to go with where you've shared things with others. So for instance, I shared with Megan, I shared this particular login to Jack. So he's had that before. I've shared this thing with Jack. All sorts of stuff I've shared mainly with Jack because he's my employee at the time and he has access to all those things. Now, he also is not actually a current employee. So really, I should be removing all of these. So bang, cancel the invitation. He doesn't have access to that anymore. Cancel the invitation, doesn't have access to any of that anymore. And the additional thing it's doing, notice how it doesn't let me select more than one. So it's actually making it so that I can't accidentally delete everything and then just go, oh God, I did the wrong thing. Oops, there's no trash. Let's get rid of all those. And he also doesn't need access to any of these things. Excuse me, sneezing. Again, it's a sneezy kind of day in Townsville today, clearly. And as I delete all those, it takes away those invitations and his access to those particular things. So he's no longer got access to those things, but he's given me access to a whole lot of things, and other clients have given me access to those things as well. So it's a much more secure way of sharing access to things, and rather than just writing down a username and password or putting it in an email and sending it off to someone, not knowing full well whether they're going to get that thing or not, or whether they're going to get it in the correct format. So LastPass under the hood is a very useful thing to use. These are all my logins, so absolutely everything I do. I got logins for all sorts of stuff, from websites to airlines to bank accounts and all that. Now I can flick through all this. You're not really going to see them all, but as you can see, thousands, 1,784 that are not categorized. That's just the ones that are not categorized. Then there's these ones, and then there's these business ones, and then there's all these ones as well, all the email ones. So I got lots and lots of access to lots and lots and lots of stuff. And it's all safe and secure in there in a way that I can't mess up. I can get safely into these things through the plugin that gives me access to all these things. So I can use all the items that I've got access to. I can just copy them. Now, this also works in your phone as well. So I've got the LastPass app in my Android phone that does exactly the same thing. This will be a little bit more difficult to show you on screen because it's not something that's very easy to share on screen, but it'll probably appear backwards. But I've got the LastPass app on my phone. And I'm just going to unshare my screen so you can see this. So it's almost the same thing. So I've got the LastPass app on my phone that gives you a look at the things that I've got access to. So I can flick through all those as well and very, very easily move around so that I've got, any sort of access I need to get. So boom, through there, any sort of access I need to get hold of, I've got access to those things. Some of those are very old, the things I don't actually have access to anymore, but they allow me to go into some of these and then I can either launch that site, I can view the details, show the password, or what I'm probably going to do is copy the password. So I go copy the password and then saves that password into my clipboard. So see, password was copied in my clipboard, and then I can go and paste that password into that particular site that I want to get some access to. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? It makes that whole process of saving passwords and having very secure passwords so much more simple. So what's stopping you really with these? Is there a thing that you would stop? Is there something that would make it much more easy for you? Is there something that you would say, if it just had this one extra feature, I'd probably go with it? Well, if that's the case, try and think of it this way. You are not secure right now. You're using passwords that are the same from app to app, site to site, and they're all the same. You get into one, they can then get into anything else you've got as well. There's also, how well is that notebook working for you? Oh, I've had it for 10 years. It's doing fine. Thank you. I don't really need to change. The problem is, house burns down, you lose your passwords, right? With this, you can set up emergency access that if you die, if the house burns down, if the computer breaks down, it doesn't matter that the physical item that those things are on is gone, because it's not relying upon that physical item. It's all running from your account in the cloud. So if you can't get hold of it on your computer, you can get hold of it on your iPhone. You can't get it on an iPhone, you can get it on your Android. You can't get it on your Android, you get it on your Chromebook, your iPad, your other laptop, or just log into someone else's computer and you can log in the LastPass from there with that one password that you do have to remember. And there's a very big key there. You still have to remember one password. But I'll tell you what, remembering one password, a lot better than having to remember 1,715 of them. Agree? Thought you might. So if you want to take advantage of this, just go to lastpass.com and this will give you the option to be able to sign up as a new user. I would say in the very first beginning, you do not need to set yourself up as a paid user. Just get the free basic one. That's all you need to do. And if you need a hand with any sort of that cybersecurity setup, particularly LastPass, book me in for an ASBAS Digital Solutions one-to-one session. I'll be more than happy to help you out. You can also stalk me over on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd love to hear from you, or reach out to my email, dante@treaty.com.au. I'd like to thank the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program in conjunction with Business Station, Treaty Business Consulting, and Regional Development Australia Brisbane for being able to bring this to you. Hopefully it's going to give you a bit of help and it's going to make your life to living more securely, I guess, and making sure that you're not leaving yourself really open and really in a bad place for hackers to be able to very easily get into all your stuff. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great week.